Lampasas. Now, there was a while when Lampasas got started in 1856, and right away a guy was shot to death. By the 1870s, holy cow, there were saloon fights galore. Indeed, here were the Harrell brothers. Well, the Harrell-Higgins feud is going to be centered right there in Lampasas just a couple years later. But the state police came down from Austin, led by Captain Williams. He had 6 or 7 men with him. And when he arrived in Lampasas, he took 3 of those men with him. 4 state policemen, led by the captain, walked into this saloon. And, boy, all 4 lawmen were gunned down immediately. It is the only gunfight in the history of the West, anywhere in the West, in which 4 peace officers were fatally wounded. The Harrell-Higgins feud got started a couple years later when Merritt Harrell was stealing Pink's cows. Pink got evidence on him. He got off by the court, and so Pink said, okay, don't do it anymore. I'm warning you, I'm going to take care of it myself. Well, he kept stealing his cows, and Pink walks into that same saloon where the 4 state policemen had been killed. He has his Winchester with him, and Merritt Harrell was in the back. He says, Mr. Harrell, this is to settle some cow business. And kabam! He shot him down with his Winchester. Merritt got up, leaned on the shoulder of a friend. Kabam! Pink shot him again. Then Pink walked over just to be sure and levered 2 more shots into him. And that started the Harrell-Higgins feud, and the climactic fight was battled out, the Battle of the Square. Fort Worth, oh my goodness. Fort Worth saw all kinds of gunplay. The most famous gunfight, I suppose, was between long-haired Jim Courtright, who was now no longer the sheriff. He had a much more lucrative event going, no longer the city marshal. He had a detective agency that was running a protection racket against saloons and gamblers. One of those gamblers was Luke Short, a deadly little gunman who carried his pistol in a leather-lined pants pocket. He didn't want to mess up his outfit. Like most gamblers, he dressed very sharp, a black suit, watch chain across his black vest. And he bumped into Courtright one night. He was standing beside his friend, Bat Masterson. And Courtright jumped in between them. He stuck his 6-gun into Short's belly, and he's going to kill him. However, the watch chain, when Luke jumped back, his watch chain dangled down into the mechanism of the gun. And when he fired the gun, it hit on that watch chain. And that gave Short time to palm his gun out of his pants pocket. It was loaded with 5 guns, by 5 bullets, and he emptied that gun into Courtright, and he was killed. And in fact, Short died a few years later, and Short and Courtright are buried in Oakwood Cemetery, and so is Killin' Jim Miller, who operated out of his wife's boarding house in Fort Worth. And they're all 3 buried along with cattle barons like Burt Burnett. They call Oakwood Cemetery the Westminster Abbey of Fort Worth. El Paso, Dallas Studenmeyer was killed there. Wes Hardin was killed there. John Selman, Baz Outlaw, a Texas Ranger, had a bad drinking problem. Waco, during its period as a trail town on the Chisholm Trail, they called it Six-Shooter Junction. There were many shootouts also in those red light districts. Oh my goodness. Tascosa's red light district, a short distance from downtown, about a quarter of a mile away, it was called Hogtown. Was that descriptive of the young ladies who plied their trade there? I don't know. Listen at their nicknames. One of them was called Homely Ann. One was called Gizzard Lip. Ah, what a lovely. Rowdy Kate, Boxcar Jane, Slippery Sue, Frog Lip Sadie. Those are some women to fight over, are they not? Fort Worth's famous red light district was Hell's Half Acre, south of downtown, and it was one rough spot. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and their gang they enjoyed vacationing there. El Paso, its #1 place was Tilly Howard's. Tilly Howard's was where Baz Outlaw was killed. It's a parking lot today. Amarillo, during its heyday as a cattle shipping center, had the Bowery District, and right here in Austin, they had Guy Town. And Guy Town was just west of Congress Avenue, along the several blocks along the Colorado River.